Hello and welcome to Round the Table, your slow TV radio podcast from the meeting point, broadcasting not only to Bilbao but throughout the world. Hello and welcome back to Round the Table, episode 33, I believe it is. And welcome back to all our wonderful listeners. And for those people that missed class this week, your chance to catch up on all those wonderful conversations that you missed out on. And in this week's programme, we've got quite a big section of What's the Difference? Then we'll be discussing a very short version of Interesting Word, just a very brief one. We have a couple of typical mistakes. And then we'll be talking about the topic of the week. And the topic of the week is belonging. All about being in groups and group identities and nationalities and that kind of thing. So to begin with, let's do What's the Difference? So the first three words we got here.
So what's the difference between award, reward and prize?
Yeah, well, they're quite difficult to explain, really. I think an award is something you're given for your achievements.
Yeah.
If you think of an Academy Award, yeah?
Like the Oscars.
Like the Oscars and that kind of thing. They are awards, aren't they? I think the difference between that and a prize is something that you go in a competition specifically to try to win it, yeah?
Yes.
But if you are given an award, it's like in recognition of what you've done.
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't do that thing specifically to get the thing at the end. You don't make a film because you want an Oscar. You make the film because you want to make a film. And if somebody thinks that you did an amazing job, they give you an Academy Award or an Oscar. And also medals for bravery. If you're in a battle situation and you do something incredibly brave, they give you a medal. That would be an award. You didn't do it specifically because you wanted a medal. That would be quite a risky way of living, I think.
Yeah.
And then we have reward. Now, reward was another one as well. We tried to work out what that is. It's normally for doing something that needs to be done.
Yeah, maybe it's more specific.
I think it's specific, yes.
Yeah.
I think of two specific reasons why you get rewards. They're normally, you see them in the westerns, don't you? On those posters. Reward, dead or alive. When they're trying to capture a criminal or something like that. Yeah. And also when someone loses their dog.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
They offer a reward. So it's for doing something that needs to be done, needs to be found.
What about when someone is kidnapped? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's when they ask?
Oh, that's called a ransom.
Ransom.
A ransom.
Okay.
And that used to be used back in the day in battles as well. When they kept the prisoners, they would hold them a ransom and you would buy them back. So in medieval times, when you went into a medieval battle, one of the best ways of making money was to catch someone, some aristocrat from the other side, because they were very valuable. And you could sell them back. And that's why a very large amount of money is called a king's ransom. Oh. He paid a king's ransom for that house, they say.
Okay.
And so you can imagine the king would be sold for a lot of money after a battle.
Okay.
So that's a ransom, yeah. So award, reward, prize, and ransom. Well done. Add that one in. Another one we were talking about was hymns. Hymn as in a song. We were talking about national anthems. Because we were talking about belonging and nationality this week. So people were talking about the hymn of a country. Yeah. And it's not called a hymn, it's called an anthem. A hymn is a song that you sing in church. It's a religious song.
Okay.
And an anthem is to do with an organisation. Usually a country. So normally national anthem is the collocation. But sometimes you might have a football anthem.
Yeah.
If you go to see Liverpool play at Anfield, everyone sings You'll Never Walk Alone at the beginning. That's their anthem.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think some companies have anthems.
Yeah.
I think if you work in Japan, you might have a Mitsubishi song that you sing in the morning before work. Yeah, I don't know how it goes. I could try if you want, but I don't think I will. Anyway, so anthems represent some sort of organisation, some group of people. Hymns are just religious songs, and then you have a thing called a carol.
Those are for Christmas.
Yeah, they're
Christmas
specifically,
carols.
they're always Christmas carols. Again, it's a collocation. It's always Christmas carol. They're not really sung at any other time, I don't think.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, here's another 3 with take. Take place, take part, take sides. So take place means
Happen.
to happen.
happen.
Yeah, to happen.
It happens.
And usually referring to the place where it happens, I suppose. I suppose we're quite often talking about where
A place,
it happened.
yeah.
So it takes place means happen, yeah. Take part is
Collaborate.
to collaborate or be involved in something,
Be involved, yeah.
To be involved in something. So if you take part in a game of football, you are actually one of the players.
Playing, yeah.
You can say it takes place in the football stadium, and the players take part. And then take sides came up in conversation this week.
It's 2 sides and you choose one. I don't know.
That's right, yeah. It's to choose one of the sides as a favourite, to support one side or the other. Because we were talking about the war in Ukraine and somebody saying that we take part, but we don't take part in it. We take sides. Most people support the Ukrainian side.
Yeah.
Whether they should or not, we won't get into that. That's another debate. But we're not taking part in it because we're not going to join in, are we?
No.
So we're taking sides. Okay, here's another one then. What about lonely and alone?
Lonely is how you feel, yeah?
Is correct.
You feel lonely.
Yeah.
You might be surrounded by lots of people.
Yeah.
But if you don't feel part of that group, you might feel lonely. To be alone is to be physically alone with no one else.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can be alone but not feel lonely.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're just thinking about things and, doing something without anyone else around.
Sometimes it's nice to be alone.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we've got that coming up in the next book as well. About isolation is one of the topics in the next book, yeah. And about why we need people around us sometimes and sometimes we don't. So being alone is when there's only one person, but lonely is the feeling of isolation rather than physical isolation. Like you say, you can be with lots of people and still feel lonely if you have nothing in common and you feel like you're not part of the group. And you can be alone and not feel lonely. That's the difference, yeah. Right, so that's the end of What's the Difference? They were very interesting ones this week. Now we've got a quick, interesting word. And this week's interesting word is brand. What do you think of when you think of the word brand?
Coca-Cola.
I was thinking that as well. Yeah, it's normally Coca-Cola, isn't it?
I was in between Coca-Cola and Apple.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So all those trade names are
Yes.
brands, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're trade names. They're not exactly the same as logos, but sometimes logos are the part of the brand as well. Logo is the style of the way it's written. Like the Coca-Cola with that swirly writing. Yeah, that is the...
It's more visual, the logo, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's also part of branding, isn't it?
Yes. Very important too.
Yeah. So we often talk about the brand as the trade name, and it's also part of the reputation of the name and how well known the name is also to do with the brand identity, as it were. Anyway, the origin of the word brand is quite interesting because it's related to the word burnt.
Burnt?
Yeah.
Oh.
From the German word for burnt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what's the connection?
I wonder.
Well, I'll tell you. Branding originally, if you have a cow, if you watch the cowboy films, and they get those metal things and put them in the fire, and then they burn them onto the side of a cow, don't they? Which is quite horrific, really, if you're a cow. I hope there's no vegetarians listening. They must be very upset by this. I apologise. But yeah, they burn the logo into the side of a cow, don't they? And that is branding.
Yeah,
They're called branding irons. So that like little logo that each ranch, the farmers out there, they have their own logo. Like on the bull fights, yeah, the bulls, all the places where the bulls come from, they have like a little logo, don't they? And I guess that was originally burnt onto the cows. Yeah, so that is a brand and a branding iron. So it comes from the verb to burn, and that is why it then got transferred from cows to other products.
Oh, I never knew that.
So there's an interesting fact. I'll put it down as interesting word. I could have called that an amazing fact. Maybe I'll just play the amazing fact logo. Right, on to the next one. Typical mistakes. Now there's this word here that people have trouble remembering. Learn this word. Throughout. Throughout my life. Throughout my childhood. Throughout the 1950s. Throughout the 20th century. Throughout history. Not along. A lot of people say along. Yeah.
What's the difference between through and throughout? Can you say through my childhood?
No, you would normally say throughout. You go through a tunnel.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
You go through the woods.
So that's when you physically go through a place.
Yeah, throughout is normally for time. And through, yeah, okay. Through is for a place and throughout is for time, I would say, would be the difference. So you go through tunnels, you go through the woods. You have to be kind of enclosed.
Okay.
Because some people say go through the park.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
But really you go across the park. But I imagine if the park had a lot of trees, it would be more through. Yeah. But I think people go through the park quite a lot. Yeah. But I think you need to be quite enclosed for through.
Okay.
So anyway, remember those phrases, throughout my life, throughout my childhood and that kind of thing. It means like all along, but not using along. Another common one this week was another problem with people. We always have a problem with people because people are plural, don't forget. The people are, not the people is. And I think most people have learnt that now. But then we had another problem with people saying that people instead of those people. Yeah, that person, you would say that person, but those people. You need those for the plural, but sometimes people forget that. And another one, while we're here, why not do this one? Another. Another, I think I've done this one before under typical mistakes, but I'll tell you again because it came up again yesterday. Another person, if you have another, it is made of two words, like an plus other. Therefore, it can only go with a singular. Another person, but other people. Yes? Do you want another biscuit? They say. An other, because it's singular.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's the typical mistakes for this week. So. So this week we were discussing belonging, all about belonging to groups, the importance of belonging to groups, advantages and disadvantages, and why group identity is important for some people rather than others. So we were talking a lot about why some people are very patriotic and other people, are not that interested. Why some people love waving flags. We talked a lot about subculture and urban tribes, why you have heavy metal fans and why they dress in a certain, we could call it a uniform, I suppose, because it is quite standardized form, isn't it? And why we have punks and goths and skinheads and rockabillys and all these different factions.
But in one way or another, everybody needs to be part of a group. Like you say, some people might be more interested in flags or in music, but we are social animals, aren't we? And I think it's important to be in a group.
Yeah, we are social animals, but then there's a difference, isn't there, between the people that just like to socialise, because for some people their group is like the quadrilla that they have here. It's just like with 4 or 5 friends that always hang out together and they've known each other since school and they socialise together. But there's not really an identity to it unless that group has a name. And do they all wear the same T-shirts or something like that?
Well, here the quadrillas
Again, we've got clothing coming up in the next book, because quite often clothing represents who you are in society as well. There's a certain style of dress for upper class people, isn't there? And you can see who people vote for sometimes by the way they dress. It's quite noticeable sometimes.
Going back to belonging, if you are part of a group, in your group of friends, you want to be part of it. You want to feel that you belong, and you wouldn't like to be left aside or something.
Yeah. Well, we need friends, and we need contacts, and we need families and things like that,
But to feel that you belong to that group, I think is important.
Yeah. Another thing that we were talking about on Friday was how your identity group, let's say, can expand or contract according to the circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, because we were talking about the big disasters in Valencia.
Oh, yeah.
And how people with empathy, we suddenly feel that we are part of that group. And lots of people are going there to help, and people are sending money and doing all kinds of things to help out with the situation. Whereas normally people in Bilbao might feel very bilbaínos and very, that's them over there. Valencia is another place. And if you just say, oh, well, you're all Spanish, some people go, oh, no, but there's big differences. And when at certain times, you will emphasise those differences and be a very independent city, one from the other, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then other times you feel more compassion and you feel more at one. So your boundaries extend or contract according to the conversation or the circumstances or what's happening in the news. And it reminded me of when you see an international football match and you see the England fans and they have the big England flags lined up along the edge of the terraces or whatever. And they've got the St. George's cross, the red cross on the white background. And in the middle it says Millwall FC. And next to them it says West Ham United FC, And they're all England fans together, but all of them from different clubs. And the previous Saturday they hated each other. They were sworn enemies and they were fighting in the streets. But now their boundaries have changed. And instead of coming from different areas of London, they're all English.
Yeah.
And they've got a different enemy, like the French or the Germans or whoever it is. So they're suddenly united. So their little area, that little imaginary line that they draw around their group can expand and contract again according to circumstances.
Yeah.
And it's like that, a thing I heard once on the radio. It was a comedian talking, and he was saying that if you go to a city like Manchester, where you've got 2 football teams, you've got one side of Manchester is Manchester United, they're red, and on the other side everyone's blue, they support Manchester City, and they're big enemies. They have local derbies, which is another interesting word. I could tell you about the origin of derby, but I won't today. But they're enemies, one side of Manchester against the other. But as soon as someone comes from Liverpool, they're united in being from Manchester, and we're Mancunians together, and you're a Scouse from Liverpool, and he's an enemy. And then if a Geordie appears, they're from the northeast. So all of the people from Manchester and Liverpool are then united because they're from the northwest. And those northeasterners are different, but they can be united. And then they meet someone from London, and he's a southerner, and all of a sudden the northeast and the northwest are then united as northerners. We don't like southerners, people from down the south of England, they're different. So they don't like them. And then they meet a Scotsman. And so then the north and south of England are united as being English. And there's a Scotsman, and they're different and they're strange. And then the Frenchman appears. And he's French, and all of a sudden the English and the Scottish and the Welsh are all suddenly British. Because the other one's a Frenchman, and he's not, they're not the same, they're different. And then an American arrives, and all of a sudden we're all Europeans. And more or less, well, for some people, we're united as Europeans because there's an American suddenly arrived on the scene. And anyway, the comedian was saying what we need if we really want to unite all the people is to have an invasion from another planet. And if someone suddenly appeared from another planet, we might finally be united as people of the world. Earthlings together might actually see that the differences between us are kind of quite trivial, really. But we look for the differences between the different groups and different nationalities because we need to find a difference.
Yeah, but it's so true, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yes. Well, many a true word spoken in jest, they say. Yeah. It is true, because quite often, you look at people from another country, and 99.9% of their life is pretty much the same as yours. But we look for something, like they eat some funny spicy food, or they got a funny hat or something like that. And we just look for the differences and go, they're really weird because they have this. And it's like, so they've got some dessert that you don't like. So what? But they still go to work. They drive their car to their office, and they've got their computer, and they've got their air conditioning. And it's exactly the same as it is here. And they drive home in a similar, on a similar motorway to a similar house with the same central heating. And
families.
And they're just doing a job and trying to, put a roof over their heads.
Yeah, very good. That's very, very true.
Yeah, but we do like to look for differences. We were talking about hobbies, doing activities in groups, and how important it is, because sometimes the hobby can sometimes take second place. Because it's always nice, if you've got a hobby, if you find other people with similar interests, then you can meet, you can discuss, you can do the hobby in a group. But sometimes the group activity is actually more important than what it is you're doing.
I always think if I wanted to meet new people now, that's what I do. I go to a class and start an activity I like. So the people there are gonna at least have the same interest in that activity. So that's something that we have in common.
Because you don't have to have everything in common, do you?
No,
as long as you have that one activity in common.
In fact, this year, last month, I started swimming again. I used to do it on my own, and I never mind that. But for some reason, I didn't do it for the last couple of years. And I thought, I need a group. So I found a group that they like swimming, so I started again. And it's very good.
I think one of the advantages of doing something in a group is that you have a kind of commitment. When you've got several people that say, right, this day at this time we do this. If you're doing it on your own, you can it's easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow. But you've got a sort of commitment to meet at a certain time to do it.
And you always enjoy things more when you do it in a group.
It's like learning English, as we often talk about why people come to the meeting point. But if you've got a social activity, Yeah.
Because if you think about it, you don't need to go to English classes to learn English nowadays.
No, we shouldn't advertise, but there are lots of facilities online.
Everything is there.
Yeah. You can get books on grammar, but who wants to do that?
Yeah.
What's the point in it?
The thing is, you learn a language to communicate with other people. So the best way is to find people to talk to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what it's for, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit like learning music as well. Like if you know other people and you can meet together and you and a couple of friends can get your guitars out and play some music together, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, rewarding. That's the word, isn't it? Rewarding. Yeah.
And you see lots of people doing sport activities. Like you can go running in the park on your own, but lots of people meet a neighbour.
Yeah.
You know, they arrange that at a certain time in the evening they go for a run together. It's like all those people that walk their dogs. The ones from around the corner here, they all go out with their dogs at the same time, and there's like 6 women with their dogs. It's like a big pack of them and go up the road together.
Yeah.
And I guess they just started a conversation one day, and then the timings coincide that they all leave home at the same time.
Yeah, and that's something you have to do.
Yeah.
Like
So you might as well arrange a time to do it, and all the dogs get on well anyway because they like sniffing each other and doing doggy things. And the owners can have a conversation.
Yeah, but in general, I think doing things in a group is much better. And we also discussed this in the past. But a reading club, for example, I read in the news recently that in New York, Z generation, or whatever it's called, now they don't like going out to bars and discos. So what they do is they go to reading clubs. And I thought, really? That's it? No, for young people, like meeting on a Saturday and discussing a book and having a glass of wine. And I thought, that's very interesting.
Oh, there's hope for the world yet.
Yeah. So I thought, wow, that's... And they see it like something really rewarding. More than getting drunk and all that.
Yeah. But studying things together, like we said the other day, when you read a book, you read it in one way and other people see other things in it. And sometimes when other people share their interpretation of what they've read, it sort of opens your eyes and opens your mind a bit to, and when you read the next book, you read it in a different way.
That's true.
Because you're seeing it from various angles at the same time and thinking of different interpretations because you're sort of predicting what other people might see or say.
Do you think it's, because I don't know about this, when people are together and they share, do you think something goes on in your brain that makes you feel good?
Probably, yeah. Probably. There's something in music of linking up rhythms, even if you're drumming or clapping. If you start clapping and someone joins in at the same rhythm, there's something that links up in your brains, And so playing music together is a very therapeutic and very like a bonding experience. And I think, sharing ideas, like before when we discussed communication, it's a fundamental part of human nature, and it's how we survived as a species, because we're only a little insignificant ape, really.
Yeah, that's true.
And if we didn't have the power of communication, we would probably have become extinct a long time ago, because we're not that great apart from our amazing conversational abilities. And sharing information is how we survived. So there's probably something built into our brain structure that's got a reward mechanism for, because everyone likes to share information. We love teaching each other and sharing interesting facts. That's why I'm always telling people interesting facts. And
also gossiping.
And gossiping as well. Gossiping is just an alternative version, Because we share information, and by our nature of having to share information, a large percent of it is going to be useless information and trivia, and we call that gossip. But I suppose in a small society, if we're in a little tribal group of 50 odd people, you need to know who's reliable, who you can trust,
Yeah.
and who did what to who, and all that kind of stuff. And that would have been important information.
Yeah.
Now we do it on a more global scale, and we gossip about celebrities who we're never going to meet, and they're not actually going to have any impact on our lives. But I think the mechanism had a function in our primitive days.
Yeah.
So we need to share information. We need to share experiences. Right. Okay then. I think that's all we've got time for this week, then, sir. And I hope everyone enjoys that. And those of you that didn't come to class this week, you can catch up there and find out what we've been talking about. And don't forget, you have to share this with all your friends and leave lots of comments down below. And do the thumbs up like thing, because we like it when you like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for us to go. Have a good week until next week. Bye.
Bye.